KSAN's coverage of the Altamont concert is covered in your book. They covered it from the moment it began right through to the aftermath. And you include excerpts from the broadcast on that Sunday morning, December 8th, the day after. Some chilling accounts from people who were there that called in. One was talking about people getting kicked, people getting walked on, a girl being dragged across the stage by her hair. I mean, is there any standout quote from that chapter for you?
Well, when the Hell's Angel, the head of the Hell's Angels called in, Sonny Barger, and you got the other side of it.
Finally, the Stones come out and they start playing. And, you know, like everything's going, everybody's having a real good time. And all of a sudden, somebody down in front, where this one bike right directly in front is yelling, you know. So I myself jumped down there, and the wiring had shorted out somewhere, and the bike had caught fire. And I pulled the wires off of the bike, out of the battery, and the bike was in flames in, you know, a couple of places. And, like, we was trying to put it out, and, like, the people were packed right up and onto the stage, you know. And, like, I kept telling them, back up a little bit so we can get this fire out. And, like, nobody would back up. And, like, you know, some other people, some other angels that were sitting on the stage, like, finally caught the action of what was happening, and they started coming off of the stage. Well, when they did, people started backing up, you know. Now, I ain't saying anything about no angel hit anybody, you know. I know some of them hit people, you know, but they moved them people back out of the way of the bike, and we got the fire put out on the bike, and in the process, you know what, some people got hit. And you know what, some of them people, like maybe were them Friday nighters that got that front row, I don't know, but like they didn't want to give up that spot even to put the bike out, to let us put the fire out, and they come back fighting, you know?
Yeah.
When they come back fighting, they got thumped, you know? And a lot of times there was 6 or 7 angels on one guy, and a lot of times there wasn't in different areas. But then after that happened, we got the fire put out on the bike, everybody got back up on the stage of the angels, and the people moved right back in again, and everything was cool. But out of all them people in that front area, which maybe for 25 rows back, you would say, I don't know how many you could even estimate at it, there was 3 or 4 people in there that come over to where the bikes were and kicked a couple of bikes over and, you know, broke a couple of mirrors off of a couple of them and this and that. Well, you know what? I don't know if you think we pay $50 for them things or steal them or pay a lot for them or what, but most people that's got a good Harley chopper got a few grand invested in it.
I can dig it.
Ain't nobody going to kick my motorcycle. And they might think because they're in a crowd of 300,000 people that they can do it and get away with it. But when you're standing there looking at something that's your life, and everything you got is invested in that thing, and you love that thing better than you love anything in the world, and you see a guy kick it, you know who he is. And
right.
If you have to go through 50 people to get to him, you're going to get him. And you know what? They got.
You know, we've all heard the Hells Angels, they ruined it. Sure, they got hired to do security for $500 of beer by the Rolling Stones, so they were completely sloshed. And they brought their bikes in, and somebody touched their bikes, and then that went off, and somebody was killed. But you had Woodstock in August of '69, and that was just went off, as we know, as a cultural landmark of what it became. So San Francisco said, let's do another one. And the Rolling Stones were going to play free in Golden Gate Park. No, nobody's going to have a free concert in Golden Gate Park with the Rolling Stones. They tried a couple other places. And this Altamont Speedway only became available at the last minute, and it turned into a disaster, the opposite of Woodstock. And a couple of the KSAN DJs had been to Woodstock, so they got on the air the next day and opened up the phone lines for hours and talked about what went wrong at Altamont. It had to do with bad acid that went through everybody, terrible, the vibes. And the Rolling Stones, there was a lot of blame to go around. And I talked to David Smith, who started the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic at that time. There's a lot of kids on the streets. They had nowhere to go, and they'd go to this free clinic. And he said it was known. There was bad acid there, and it just created a horrible Altamont. But some people say it was the end of the 60s.
Yeah, absolutely.
69.
That and Charles Manson. That and the Manson murders, Sharon Tate, that whole thing. That was it.